What's up guys, it's Social Ham here. So today I'm going to be doing another kind of just personal one-to-one video. We're going to be talking about how to debate and talk to conservatives as someone who's on the left, and if in general, even if you're just left to conservatives, it's kind of hard to talk to them right now. Tomorrow I'll be posting a video going over simple tax terms that you should probably know if you're going to be talking about tax policies that you want implemented, or if you're ever reading an article and there's a tax term in there you don't know. Well, that's going to be for you. It's going to be going simply over some simple tax terms. Um, the reason I'm making this video is because my dad's side of the family is conservative, and sometimes having conversations with them can be difficult because there's just like a fundamental misunderstanding of what is real, or like what are facts. I don't necessarily need them to believe everything that I believe. I don't need them to have every single position that I believe in. It's fine to have different positions, but if you are going into a conversation with someone like that and your underlying fact of the matter is just completely off, there's no way to have a conversation or ever engage with that person in a way that's going to be positive. Um, it's unfortunate because a lot of it on the right, a lot of misinformation going on. There's people that believe the election was stolen. There's, COVID conspiracies that COVID is fake, that COVID was done to defeat Donald Trump, that it's not as bad as they say, the vaccines don't work. A lot of stuff going around, some conversation with these people hard. There's some of that on the left too, don't get me wrong. Some stuff on the left also gets overplayed and just some misinformation as well. But I think from the right it's a little worse and it's a little harder to talk to these people. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to talk to these people. Because at the end of the day, everyone is your fellow American, and so you should probably try to talk to them and have a good faith conversation with them. Now, the number one tip I'm going to give you is probably the most important one, is that you need to go in knowing the facts, but also being true to yourself and being truthful to the facts. Because if you are also going in not understanding what is actually going on, then they're not going to believe you. So I want to give an example. So for example, I believe in systemic racism. I don't know to what extent. I don't think I believe it's like America's like this horrible, evil, completely racist country like some people on the left seem to believe, but there is definitely some disadvantages that black people have in America, especially when it comes to stuff like incarceration and the police treatment that they get. But sometimes when you're talking to a conservative, they'll bring up the classic meme of 1350. For those of you who don't know what 1350 is, it's basically a meme saying that despite the fact that black people make up 13% of the population, they commit 50% of the violent crimes. Now, I've seen on Twitter, there was recently a whole drama with, I believe it was Vosh or Merrick, that they were talking about this. These are like streamers, if you don't know who they are, don't worry about it. But essentially they conceded that like, yes, this is in fact going on. And there were a lot of people in the left saying like, this is harmful. These are Nazi talking points. These are white nationalist talking points, which it is true. Typically whenever 1350 is brought up, it's usually people that are on the far right that want to have some white nationalist, white supremacist society. But that's not a false statistic. That is an FBI statistic. It is true that 13% of the population, being black people, commit 50% of the violent crimes. However, the people that say that statistic on the right, they're usually going at it from an angle of, well, the reason for that is because black people just commit more crime. That's just who they are. There's a lot of race realism saying that like black people are more aggressive. There's things of attacking their culture, which is usually just a way to say that that's just the way they are and no one's going to change that. When really, as someone who's on the left and someone that is advocating against systemic racism, you should concede, yes, this is in fact a point. They do commit this crime. However, we have to look at the context and the history, which is, well, the black people tend to live in way poorer communities. The poorer you are, the more typical you are to do crime. The conditions that these people grow up in, a lot of these men that are committing the crime grow up fatherless, and it's really important to have a father figure in your life because it guides you, and not having a father figure can end up messing up how you grow up. These people are poor. The schools they go to are really bad. So, a lot of them tend to drop out, not go to high school, not finish high school, not go to college. There's all these interwoven, complex things that go into that statistic. It's not simply that black people are just like that. And so you have to go at it from that angle. You have to know the context, you have to know the history in order to talk to someone like this. Because if you go in saying, whoa, no, you're lying, black people don't commit all this crime, why would they listen to you at all? Because you're just lying on that fact. Now, it's fair to say that you have to know about the facts going in. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I guess black people do commit that crime, and then just leave it at that. No, you have to go in and explain to them, like, hey, that's true, but I think you're jumping on your conclusion. People do this a lot where they already go in with their conclusion, and then they just use the facts to prove their conclusion, when you should be going the other way around, is gathering all your facts, gathering all the history and all the context, and then you build your conclusion from there. Um, so that's just one thing. Another example was the Breonna Taylor case. I don't know if you guys remember back in 2020, I believe this was, when all the BLM stuff was going on. There was that one case of Breonna Taylor that she was in her bedroom sleeping. The police stormed in because they were trying to find her boyfriend, and they shot her boyfriend shot because they thought it was a home invasion, and then the police fired back and she was killed in her bed. Except that's not actually what happened. All that stuff happened, but she wasn't sleeping in bed. She got up and she went to see what was going on, and she was near the hallway, and then she got shot and died. Now, does that mean the police should have just shot into the apartment building? No, obviously not, and she shouldn't have died. But if you're gonna go in from this pre-made fact that Breonna Taylor was killed in her sleep, then when you're talking to a conservative, you bring this up, and they say, well, actually, she wasn't in her bed. She was on the hallway, and that's why she got shot. Anything else you say after that, they're not going to want to believe. It's like anything else when you talk to someone. It doesn't matter if you tell someone 1,000 things that are true and correct. If the first thing you ever tell them is a lie, they're just going to assume everything else you say is a lie, and that's not a really good way to have a conversation. Another thing you need to do is try to admit the faults that the Democratic Party has and that the left wing's policies have. I don't know how radical all of you are, but I'm kind of a little bit more in the middle, center left. I'm like a social democrat. And so, for example, going back to this, when you're going to have a conversation about something like January 6th, right? January 6th was really bad. It was an invasion on our capital. It was an attack on our democracy. But I guarantee you, 100% of the time, if you're going to bring up that January 6th was bad and was something that was promoted by Donald Trump, they're going to say, well, I don't understand why you're so mad about one invasion on the Capitol when we had a summer and a year of riots going on from BLM. There are a lot of people that will just outright defend the riots, and that's not the right way to go about it. You can understand why the riots happen. So, for example, people riot when they feel like there's no other way, when they feel the system has failed them, they want to go out and riot as a way to protest. And that's fine. Knowing that that's why they riot is okay. But that doesn't excuse the rioting. You can't just say, oh, well, after facing all the systemic injustice, after facing all this police brutality, what else are they supposed to do? That's not the right way to go about it. You can understand why they do it, but that doesn't justify it. But if you're going to go in saying, oh, well, I think BLM should, all those riots were fine, all their property damage is okay, and I don't really care, that conservative is never going to listen to you. And listen, 90% of them, it doesn't matter what you tell them, it doesn't matter if everything you say is true, they're probably not going to change their mind. But that's fine, because if you can get to that 10%, and even if you can just skew them to believe a little bit more real things into the left, I think you're doing a good job. I think that's probably the key things. Also, just be respectful. I know some of these topics can be hard to talk about with people because either you're passionate about it or it can be infuriating going in circles with some of these people. A lot of these people are gonna be lost, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't extend an olive branch and try to at least get them to see your side. But you also have to be open to seeing their side. You might not be correct in everything you view, but not only that, some people might have different views than you, and that's okay, as long as everyone is kind of working off the same base foundation facts, and at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to a better place. I think it's fine to have disagreements. That doesn't mean you have to tolerate what conservatives think or what other people think. You can obviously have disagreements, but just, whenever you're talking to someone, try to be respectful too, because if you start going in and the first thing they say, you start getting mad and yelling at them, they're not going to care what you say because they're going to see that clearly you just want to think that your worldview is the correct one. Even if you might think it is, and I probably agree with you if you're a little bit more on the left that your worldview is probably correct, you can't just go into a conversation like that. So that's probably it for this one. I think I covered kind of what I wanted to. I'll probably go more into this again, maybe with some more research, maybe talking about COVID stuff. I know we're kind of nearing the end of it, I think, with Omicron and all that stuff, so I might not have to really talk about it, but I kind of do still because there's some misinformation out there that even people on the left are now posting about. I've seen a lot of people on the left saying now, like, "Oh my God, they want us to take our fourth booster. This is just big pharma and making the money." When it's like, this is like science. Like it's always evolving. But that'll be for another day. So tomorrow, like I said, I will have a. It'll be kind of like a class. I'm gonna make a PowerPoint detailing the terms, going over them, giving some brief explanations. I don't know how long it'll be, but I'm hoping to be. Hope it's educational. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.